I'm a black man carrying the stars and stripes. What don't I understand?
Every time I pick this thing up,
I know there are millions of people out there who are going to hate me for it.
We don't need reparations, all right? We need restraint. Don't go out and buy a Range Rover when you're living with your mama and pay your mama some rent. Please try and teach our kids something other than the Chronic album. And please, black people, be on time for something other than free before 11 at the club.
you've got to do better. You've got to step up. Do better.
Nerderotic.com.
Eric, there's people out there going, this was so powerful.
We needed this as a country.
All these people want they just want their social and political preferences validated through these characters, and they want a lecture. Obviously, they want to lecture you and everybody that's, let's say, not like them, and they get off. It's like this trauma. You know, we see this out of Race Hustlers all the time with this like trauma porn type of shit where they're constantly prying on this whole, not just victimhood, but this idea of shared sort of the shared experience of what they call the legacy of slavery or whatever dumb
shit.
Yeah, communist bullshit. It is more so. I'm not a black pillar, guys. Like, I'm not a nihilist by any means, because I am a little more optimistic, because what they're doing, they're cracking the door open for a lot of alternatives to come about. I've said before that when it comes to DC, and particularly Marvel, and we talk about the mainstream comic books, when you consider the amount of power and influence that they have, nobody should ever creep up on them or be an alternative. They're the first in and the best dressed. However, that's changed because some of it's, well, if not all of it, is their own doing. It's because they've actively pushed longtime fans out. They basically said that your money isn't good. Okay, bet. You know what I mean? And what they are allowing is a lot of alternatives to come about. And I hope people learn to take advantage of this shit, not just creating alternatives for the sake of creating alternatives, because a lot of people think that they're owed some sort of support just because hey, look at me, I'm not Marvel DC. Yeah, but are you fucking good at what it is that you're doing? So for people that can beat on their craft and actually become good, let's say, in these sort of spaces, and whether it be with getting the funding, absolutely agree with what Quarter Black was saying earlier, and get behind those projects, support those people, because Marvel, DC, Warner Bros, Disney's, they're telling you that they don't want your fucking money. Yep. Okay, bet. I'm not one of those guys who is an absolutist that expects everybody to just strip away all of their money from these brands. Like, definitely with the concept of comics, there's back issues, man. Like, you don't got to fucking fund them directly. You can get some back issues. So my only proposal is that instead of going 90% your money to people that fucking hate you, maybe give 51%, to people that, I don't know, would value you as a customer. Yeah. Instead of winning an award off of your support and then getting on the podium and telling you to go fuck yourself.
When encouraging people to go out and do independent stuff, get good. That's very important. Is practice. Don't rush out and put out a comic if you've never done it before. I mean, Ethan can do that because he's produced comics, and even he had to learn, stuff about the printing process and the distribution process. Like, get good first. And there's a lot of people who are already, but that's important. And you have time. You don't have to rush anything out. And you're absolutely right, Eric, because the quality, once the quality goes up and it is good, then that creates actual competition for the big stuff, and that inspires them to change.
Yep. Or they're gonna go get ran into the ground, and then I start my own Rippaverse comics, and now I own Batman because these idiots ran their shit into the ground.
Please.
You know what I mean? But seriously, that's the type of that they can only go one or two ways, because as these alternatives come up, and most importantly, they're good, competitive. You got to look at what made people love DC, what made people love Marvel. If you can somehow get that to cross over and do it at a competitive level, and people start to funnel it, all it takes is, one motherfucker to get his own show or something like that, maybe gets an animated film or something like that. And that, it gets that established lore and all of that. And people get behind that. The big guys have one or two options. They can adjust and say, okay, obviously this woke shit, we've passed that. We got to get back to the basics. Or they can get ran into the fucking ground. And if that's the route that they want to go, again, I end up owning Batman, and and I purchased it for pennies on the fucking dollars because they fucking didn't know what the fuck they were doing with it, and they ran their shit into the ground. But it's going to have to be that, or they're going to have to make an adjustment.
like there's the Punisher out there, which I mean you can't even use that character anymore. Conan. No. Conan's not a character you can produce anymore. Netflix has the rights, and God, you know what that's going to be.
Oh, like. No, Gary, you can.
No, okay, I know you can.
Absolutely can.
There's
but these people don't want to.
Which means they can't. Like, if you're unwilling to do something, that means you can't do it.
Sell the character then.
The people who own the rights to Conan will probably have to. The character will get devalued enough to where some guy can probably afford it at some point, or at least license it if they were smart. But yeah, Conan's going to have to be produced independently to be properly produced, and they're already trying to, look at the Lovecraft stuff, that same as that.
I'm sorry, but if you're a man and you're trying to tell me that something is not sexist, even though I have told you that it is and why, and you try to defend it by bringing up something completely unrelated and you're not seeing the difference, not only are you wrong, but you are also stupid. I promise you, you don't know more about comic books than I do. You just don't. Unless you spend your entire day and you've constructed your entire life around reading comics, reading about comics, writing about comics, reading analytical papers like theses and dissertations about comics.
That's irrelevant, by the way.
That doesn't,
you
doesn't mean
know
shit.
More than me. I am an expert by anyone's standards. I promise you, this would be a good time for you to just sit over there in the corner and shut the fuck up. Because if
she's not an insufferable cunt now, is she?
Exact issue number or 12. You don't know more than I do. Thanks.
All right, I'll put $5,000 on it that I know more than her about all of this
debate.
Yeah, I put and I want to have a good one too. If we're gonna debate, I don't want you to have your Google at your disposal, looking on Wikipedia, Wiki sites and phones and shit. No, I got $5,000 that says I know more than that helpful about
Alexandria.
Eric, she doesn't have $5,000.
You can tell by those roots.
She's gonna have to be walking up down the street a little while to fucking find $5,000.
She asked herself if she was an expert in comics, and she agreed with herself. So
she confirmed with no facts. She just said,
yeah, she didn't
because
drop
reasons.
Anything to qualify that. If you have to say you're an expert in something, you're not.
That was the funny part about it, like the thesis thing. Like, what the fuck does that got to do with?
What does that have to do with
a dissertation on comics? I know more than you.
I have read every Marvel comic since early 2020. I am an expert. If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And if you did this with your favorite YouTuber as well, I'm sure they would appreciate it as much as I do.